Jai Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari. Gopi Jana Ballabha Rivanadari. Gopi Jana Ballabha Rivanadari. Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamuna Tirha Vanacharya. Yamuna Tirha Vanacharya. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Ballabha Girivanadari. Gopi Jana Ballabha Girivanadari. Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamuna Tirha Vanacharya. Yamuna Tirha Vanacharya. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Vishnu Pad Paramhansa Prabhupada Asadhara Sadhu Shri Śrīmad, His Divine Grace Shalasi Bhaktivedanta Maharaj, to the Prabhupada Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande, Harival, glories to the sound devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Agyana Tavanandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chaksuramilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Bandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavam Scha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sabadutam Prajana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vasakan Vitam Scha Hey Krishna Karna Sindho Dinabando Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prishubhanu Sudha Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakapa Trubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha Patiranam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Pranityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Canto 8, Chapter 20, Bali Maharaj surrenders the universe, text number 12. Yadyap yasa vadharmena mam badiyat anagasam tatap yenam nai himshisye Bidam Brahma Tanum Rupum. Yadyap Yasa Vadharmena Mam Diniyat Anagasam Tatap Yenam Nehim Shishye Bidam Brahma Tanum Rupum. Bidam Brahma Tanum Rupum. Dadana Nadyananagasam Yadadeshe Nadananugraham. Ladies. Abhyasavadharmena Anand Anandamaya Shishe Yadudada Rupum Pamadiya Danagasam Pidam Brahma Tanum Ripum. Yadapi, although so Lord Vishnu Adharmena, crookedly without reference to the straight way. Mam, me, Baniyat, kills. Anagasam, although I am not sinful. Tatapi, still. Ainam, against him. Na, not. Himshisye, I shall take any retaliation. Pitam, because he's afraid. Brahmatanum, having assumed the form of a brahmachari. Ripum, even though he is my enemy. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Śrīmad Prabhupada. Although he is Vishnu himself, out of fear he has covered himself in the form of a brahmana to come to me begging. Under the circumstances, because he has assumed the form of a brahmana, even if irreligiously arrests me or even kills me, I shall not retaliate, although he is my enemy. Purport. If Lord Vishnu, as he is, had come to Bali Maharaj and asked him to do something, Bali Maharaj certainly would not have refused his request. But in order to enjoy a little humor between himself and his devotee, the Lord covered himself as a Brahmana brahmachari, thus came to Bali Maharaj to beg for only 3 feet of land. Text 13. Bali Maharaj, if this Brahmana really is Lord Vishnu, who is worshipped by Vedic hymns, he would never give up his widespread reputation. Either he would lie down having been killed by me, or he would kill me in a fight. Purport. Bali Maharaj's statement that Vishnu would lie down having been killed is not the direct meaning, for Vishnu cannot be killed by anyone. Lord Vishnu can kill everyone, but he cannot be killed. Thus, the real meaning of the word lie down is that Lord Vishnu would reside within the core of Bali Maharaj's heart. Lord Vishnu is defeated by a devotee through devotional service, otherwise no one can defeat Lord Vishnu. Text 14. Shukadeva Goswami continued. Thereafter, the spiritual master, ISKCON, being inspired by the Supreme Lord, cursed his exalted disciple, Bali Maharaj, who was so magnanimous and fixed in truthfulness that instead of respecting his spiritual master's instructions, he wanted to disobey his order. Purport. The difference between the behavior of Bali Maharaj and that of his spiritual master, ISKCON, was that Bali Maharaj had already developed love of Godhead, whereas ISKCON, being merely a priest of routine rituals, had not. The ISKCON was never inspired by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to develop devotional service. As stated by the Lord himself in the Bhagavad Gita 10:10, Tesham sadatam yuktanam bhajantam priti purvakam tadami buddhiyogam tam yenamam upiyanti te. To those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. Devotees who are actually engaged in devotional service with faith and love are inspired by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vaishnavas are never concerned with ritualistic smarta brahmanas. Srila Sanatana Goswami has therefore compiled Hare Bhakti Vilas to guide the Vaishnavas, who never follow the smarta vidi. Although the Supreme Lord is situated in the core of everyone's heart, unless one is a Vaishnava, unless one is engaged in devotional service, one does not get sound advice by which to return home back to Godhead. Such instructions are meant only for devotees. Therefore, in this verse, the word daivi prahita, being inspired by the Supreme Lord, is important. ISKCON should have encouraged Bali Maharaj to give everything to Lord Vishnu. This would have been a sign of love for the Supreme Lord, but he did not do so. On the contrary, he wanted to punish his devoted disciple by cursing him. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutaya Śrīmate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswatunde Gauravani Pacharane Nirvishesha Shnuvadi Paskyadyade Sadharane. The process of devotional service usually begins with understanding that since everything here is actually belonging to Krishna. Now, we may not even know who Krishna is directly. I mean, we have some idea. We have maybe, undoubtedly, we have some experience. But the full experience of Krishna, for instance, andantarasta paramanu chirantarastam, that he's in every atom, or that dadami buddhi yogam tam, savasya chaham ridhi sanavishto, sarvasya chaham ridhi sanavishto, matak smriti jnanam aponam cha. Now, this, generally speaking, takes an intellectual exercise to understand how Krishna actually is the supersoul, that it's not just a theory, it's a reality. Now, we perceive reality through our intelligence. Whatever intelligence we have, that's how we see reality. Now, there may be material intelligence, how to control material nature, but that's not very much intelligence, really. Just like if you steal a cucumber, that's considered you're a thief. Now, if you scientifically steal jewels from a vault, does that means that you're actually advanced because you're doing it scientifically? You're still a thief. You're just a scientific thief. Similarly, the more intelligent we think we are in the material world, is that really intelligent? That after all the endeavor of using our intelligence, we wound up a mouse, because we have a mouse in our room. It's a fortunate mouse, but most mice are not so fortunate. You wind up with a mouse with all your intelligence, all your endeavor, you wind up in the lower species of life. Is that intelligence? If we give you a puzzle and the people who solve the puzzle, the most intelligent people, wind up to be a cat, is that the way you're supposed to use your intelligence? So similarly, real intelligence begins with understanding we're eternal souls. Without understanding that, our intelligence is more or less useless. As a matter of fact, it's less than useless, it's dangerous. As soon as we forget who we actually are, then the result is we put ourselves into a precarious position. Now, yogats chalati manasa. Maya takes special care for the devotees, if you haven't noticed. She specifically tries to delude them. She tries to make them as crazy as she can. Because she wants to make sure that only sincere devotees go back to Krishna, that no one's going to disturb Krishna. We go back to the spiritual world, and every time we see Krishna, he said, well, Krishna, they've given me this Chintamani's house, but there's a lot of problems with it. Do you think you'll make some arrangement for me? I need a couple extra rooms for my friends when they come over. When we have our parties. You think you can arrange it? I mean, you are God. And I really have faith in you. You can give me a bigger Chintamani palace if you wanted to. But is that what we're supposed to do, is go back to the spiritual world and disturb Krishna? So Maya makes sure that only really sincere devotees make it back to the spiritual world, and she tests us. Well, one passes a test, one has to pass the test of the spiritual master. And when he sees the genuine desire of the disciple, he automatically blesses the disciple with genuine spiritual understanding. Otherwise, what is Krishna doing? He's deluding everyone. He's giving them all the wrong information, because that's what they want. And go on the internet. See how much wrong information is being given. Everyone's speculating why something happens. No one's saying it's because of our past, hardly anyone says it's because of our past misdeeds. Because if you act in the mode of passion, the result generally is you'll get into the mode of ignorance. And if you act in the mode of ignorance, you go down to the lower species of life. So what are people doing? Are they thinking all this passion, endeavor to get wealth? What does Krishna say in Bhagavad Gita? Idam imam prapsyam munoritam. Idam adyamaya labdva. Idam imam prapsyam munoritam. Idam astiyam apime bhavishati parardanam. Asomaya hatakshatrur. Hanishe chapalanapi ishvaraham hambogi. Siraham balavan sukhi. Asomaya hadakshatrur. Hanishe chaparanapi ishvaraham hambogi. Siraham balavan sukhi. Ityaganam imohitaha. Asomaya hadakshatrur. Hanishe chaparanapi yakshe dasyami mohita ityaganam vimohitaha. So much is mine, and I'll gain more and more according to my schemes. So much wealth do I have, and I'll get more and more and more and more in the future. He is my enemy, and I have killed him, and all my other enemies can also be killed. I'm the Lord of everything. I am perfect. I am powerful. I'm happy. I'm surrounded by rich and aristocratic relatives. I will perform some sacrifice, I'll give some charity, and thus I shall rejoice. In this way, the demoniac can be bewildered by ignorance. They don't know that we're simply tiny little souls in the material world, in a big material body, and that the whole material world is just another covering for our illusion. We're covered by illusion, identifying with the body, and we're covered by a bigger illusion. Maybe it's a family, maybe it's a society, maybe it's a country, maybe it's the whole universe. It's just a bigger illusion. But it has nothing to do with ourselves. It's simply a combination, bhumir apanalo vayu, kamano buddha evacha, ahankara itiyame, bina prakriti ashteda. It's the same earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego, just pervading the whole universe. There's nothing new here. It's just different combinations. And all the combinations are just actually reflections of the spiritual world. They're all reflections. It doesn't matter whether you go to Brahmaloka or you're down in Patalaloka. It's just a make-believe world. It's made for little children who want to make believe that they're cooking. Like a little child, you may give them a kitchen with a plastic stove, plastic pot, plastic chapatis, and they believe they're cooking. But actually, it's just make-believe. So the whole material world is just make-believe. It's just meant to fulfill the make-believe desire, the desires of the soul to be make-believe. So, asatyam apratishtam te jagaro horanishvaram aparashparam sambhutyam kemaya kama haitukam. They say the world is unreal. They're right. It's temporary. In that sense, it's unreal. But it's not unreal in the sense it's actually Krishna's energy. If I paint a painting, and someone comes along and says the painting's unreal, and the person who painted the painting is unreal, then the person he himself has a mistaken idea of what reality is. He's living in illusion. The painting is real, the painter is real, and the person who's claiming it's unreal, he's an illusion. His ideas are unreal. Apratishtam, that they say the world is unreal, it has no foundation. Apratishtam. There's nothing solid here. There's no law. It's not that if you boil water, it's going to boil every time. If you put heat underneath it, no, there's nothing real here. It's all going on accidentally. Apratishtam. There's nothing predictable. Not if I contemplate an object of the senses and I'll become attached to the object. No, that's just by accident. Everything's an accident. And from the attachment, lust develops. Oh, it just happens to develop lust sometimes. And from lust comes greed. And then from greed comes anger. From anger comes delusion. No one's in delusion. We're all enlightened. We're all God. We all see things perfectly. Especially those who agree with me, they understand everything nicely. There's no such thing as forgetfulness. I remember everything perfectly because I always remember how great I am. That's perfection. I never have a doubt about my greatness. I have perfect memory. And as far as intelligent, I figured out who the Supreme is. Me. I'm the most intelligent. Everyone else is a little bewildered because they don't recognize how great I am. But anyhow, I forgive them because I'm merciful. One day it'll happen. Everyone will gradually the universe is meant to help people surrender to me. So there's no such thing as reality. I make it up as I go along. That's why I can get into an argument and take one side and try to very adamantly convince someone that it's wrong, and when I figure out actually what I said was wrong, then I just switch sides, and I'm perfectly all right, because whatever I say is reality for that moment. Jagara Hor Anishram. The world was just came about by out of nothing. Isn't that amazing? You're amazed by your Krishna, how he's unlimitedly beautiful, and unlimitedly strong, unlimitedly knowledgeable, unlimitedly wealthy, unlimitedly intelligent. He's giving you the Bhagavad Gita, seems to say everything perfectly. So you're amazed by that. But I'm amazed how all this came out of nothing. That's even more amazing, isn't it? It's normal. One would think that it would come out of a person because we're all persons. But it's even more incredible, even more amazing that it all came out of nothing. As one priest said, as I mentioned, he said, your philosophy is so good that only the devil could have made it up. So we have to take note that Bali Maharaj, it seems extraordinary that Bali Maharaj is giving up the whole universe, going against his spiritual master. But Bali Maharaj is not an ordinary personality. It's not that one day he was just walking down the street and he decided to give up the universe. Yeah, why not? Just throw it away. No, he had taken shelter of Prahlada Maharaj, and therefore he was a self-realized person, although he was associating with the demons. It seems it goes along in his family. A lot of happens to his family. That Prahlada Maharaj, and what's amazing is that Prahlada Maharaj is glorified, not just because he was a pure devotee, but because he was a pure devotee in the family of demons. If you're a brahmachari, just like brahmachari, and you renounce, and you have no attraction for women, or even for men, then you're considered to be quite extraordinary. But if you're a householder, and in the midst of, as Prabhupada said, an obliging woman, wife, that's even more amazing. That's even more renounced. Even in astrology, you have planets. Anyone here know astrology at all? That in astrology you have the planets exalted. Like, for instance, you have Venus in the sign of Jupiter. It's exalted. Now, Venus is ISKCON, by the way, and Jupiter is Brihaspati. Now, Venus can be devotional. ISKCON is not, in this particular instance, he's not very devotional. He's actually, according to the purport, he's actually against devotion. But still, Venus gets exalted when it's in the... Exalted means it's enthusiastic, it shines with brilliancy, it shines with enthusiasm. In the sign of Jupiter, and a sign of its enemy. It's worse, Saturn and Venus and Jupiter are bitter enemies. ISKCON and Brihaspati. ISKCON is the spiritual master of the demons, and Brihaspati is the spiritual master of the demigods. They don't get along with each other. They're giving each other directly contradictory instructions, their followers, as we can see here. And yet, Venus becomes exalted in the sign of Jupiter. Why? Because that's when its best qualities come out. Because it's forced to exhibit maximum qualities in the sign of Jupiter. Jupiter is expansive, and Venus has to expand in such a way as to bring out its best qualities. Just like if you want to develop love. Now you can be here in the society of loving devotees, and of course not all the devotees always love us. As a matter of fact, when you join the Hare Krishna movement, then you find out that all these loving devotees, they seem to love Krishna and everyone else except for you. They have a lot to say about how wonderful Krishna is and a lot of other things to say about you. So, if you're in the society where everyone loves you, it's easy to love them back, isn't it? If someone gives you nice prasadam and fans you and does everything for you, tells you how wonderful you are, it's very hard to get angry with them. You rascal, how dare you say that? But if people are criticizing you, get a job, get lost, I am lost. That's why I came up to you. I know where. Get lost. I am lost. Help me. Then to actually love such people requires actually invoking love within our heart. It actually requires a great effort. It doesn't happen spontaneously. This idea that someone comes up to you on the street, you're trying to sell them a book, and they come up and they slam you in the face. You go, well, you hit me on the wrong side. Someone hit me on that side yesterday. Can you try the other side, even it out? Or as one saint, he was being tortured by, anyhow, we won't mention who was tortured. Anyhow, he was being tortured, and they were frying him on a pan. Not a very nice way of getting tortured, but anyhow, he was being fried. And what his reply, as he was being fried, he said, I think it's time to turn me over to the other side. I'm already cooked on that side. Now, how many of us would say that? We'd say probably have another few choice words for the people who put us on that frying pan. But that means that, when actually one is from the core of the heart, Vaya Sparsheva Saktatma Vidatmini Zatsukam, Sabrahma Yoga Yuktatma Sukhamakshayam Ashnate. If one is actually feeling unlimited love from within, not depending upon any material circumstance, then in any circumstance one will be actually nishta. Nishta and prema, steady in prema. Because material circumstances, one will think, well, it's by Krishna's arrangement, I've been put into this circumstance, this is this desire, and I'm supposed to, under all circumstances, try to help people become Krishna conscious. So this is my greatest opportunity right now to show people how great Krishna is. Nityananda Mahajan, he didn't go looking around for the people who would be easiest to take a book, for instance. Of course, I wouldn't advise us to imitate Lord Nityananda. I remember one time I was doing the marathon, the Christmas marathon, in the Chicago airport. And the GBC in charge of book distribution at that time, he wasn't my GBC, but he came up to me because he noticed I was just picking out the easy people to distribute books to. So he said, you should distribute books to everyone. Sure, right. So he was watching me for some time, so I went up to everyone, and then when he disappeared, then I went back. I didn't want to, I wasn't suicidal myself out there. I mean, if you have a certain amount of potency, yes, everyone will take a book, but you have to come up to that potency. And if you go up to people all the time, you go, excuse me, sir, and they get lost. Well, here's a book. Yeah, sure. Thanks. Or here's look at the book. Thanks a lot. See you later, kid. It's not exactly, the most enthusing thing when you're not in full Krishna consciousness. One may have a different experience. So, on the other hand, by the process of intelligently figuring out who to approach and how to do it, it's much more likely that our enthusiasm and our appreciation will develop. Now, practically no one we meet, for instance, on the street, just came out to the street looking for Hare Krishna to sell him a book. I don't think I've ever met anyone in my life. I think, yeah, I came out here, I left my job. I was looking for you guys. How much can I give you for it? Can I give you 1,000? I'll go to the bank. No, everyone we meet is more or less, it's a challenge. And if we meet the challenge, then we become enthusiastic to meet other challenges. And sometimes people will not act so pleasantly, even at whatever state of consciousness we're in. Lord Nityananda approached Jagai. Was it Jagai or Madai? Madai. No, Jagai. I don't remember. Yeah, Madai. But I think Madai through it. But Jagai and Madai. Well, now we expect Lord Nityananda must have some potency. some spiritual potency. Since he's giving everyone else their spiritual potency, he probably has a little left for himself. And yet, Maharaj threw a pot at him and hit him on the head, and blood came out. Now, whatever we think, it's a pastime, or else, he wasn't hurt really. No, but it's for us, to show us, to expect that we're going to take up the process of Krishna consciousness, and there won't be any tests. We're going to surrender our spiritual master, give the universe, and live here happily ever after. Because we're nice people. And bad things only happen to bad people. And we're sincere, so Krishna will always... He says he carries what we lack and preserves what we have. So, come on. I got all these things. Are you for real? Are you going to protect me? Protect all my things? And all the things I don't have, a new computer, nice prasadam every day, 3 servants to wash my clothes and cook my meals. I don't have them. When are you going to carry them to me? I'm waiting. If I'm going to have faith in Bhagavad Gita, I have to have faith in your words. So is that what Krishna is talking about? No, he takes away everything. Yasya anugraha krishet dana. He takes away the wealth, but he says he preserves what we have. What is he talking about? Is he schizophrenic? He says one thing to one place and a completely different thing in another place? Because he said so many things he can't remember what he said anymore. Is he like an ordinary person like us? He's sincere, but his memory is failing him sometimes. Or he's just being diplomatic. He needs a few extra devotees, so he knows these people will never surrender unto him unless he tells a few lies here and there, just to attract them. No, we understand. He preserves our consciousness ultimately, because that's the only thing we really have is our consciousness. We may imagine we have these material things like this body and our family and our possessions, but it actually doesn't belong to us. It's just an illusion. The only thing we really have is our consciousness. And the only real consciousness we have is spiritual consciousness. Everything else is just being given to us by the illusory energy. It's not even ours. The illusion that we're under doesn't even belong to us. As Prabhupada writes in the purport of the verse, Nadate kasichit papam, not papam sukritim vibhu, agyana navritan gyana, tenamuyanti jantava. Nor does the Supreme Spirit assume anyone's sinful or pious activities. Krishna is not responsible. The embodied soul is bewildered because of the ignorance which covers his real knowledge. So Prabhupada writes in the purport that desire is a subtle form of conditioning for the soul. It's not even our desire. It's being supplied to us. And we're simply agreeing to it. We're simply agreeing to remain an illusion, that's all. And then we blame Krishna. Why is things not going on the way I want them to? Because things are going the way we want them to. We are getting exactly what we deserve and what according to our desires. But we bewildered what actually to desire. And even we think we know what to desire, when the wrong desire comes, we become attached to it anyhow, because we're so used to it. Because it's been our shelter for so many lifetimes, we can't give it up, these ideas. We could give them up, but we don't want to give them up, because they're our shelter. Bali Maharaj giving up the whole universe because and Prahlada Maharaj gave up the whole universe too. Prahlada Maharaj could have become the ruler of the whole universe, practically speaking, because his father was Hiranyakashipu. But he gave it up for Krishna because he heard from Narada Muni and he took it seriously. Therefore, tatsadam anye surya varidehina. He didn't take his father so seriously compared to Narada Muni. Otherwise, why would you call your father? Of course, he didn't really insult his father. He said, you're a demon, father. But he said, you're not just an ordinary demon, you're the biggest demon. So that's kind of a compliment for a demon. If you're a demon, you might as well be the biggest demon. Why be just a little tiny insignificant demon? Become a big demon. Do something significant as a demon. Get yourself in the Bhagavatam. So many demons running around, but they're insignificant. They'll never make it into the Bhagavatam. They're just useless demons. But Hiranyakashipu, he got into the Krishna's pastimes as a demon. Not only that, but when he finally took rest, it was on the lap of Vishnu. Vishnu actually became his bed. Now Vishnu generally lies down in Sheshanaga, but here we have Hiranyakashipu lying on Vishnu. How exalted that is. So Prahlada Maharaj had the opportunity to become the ruler of the whole universe, but he gave it up and said, Tatsada manye sorivarya dehina. What is the best thing you've learned in school, my dear son? The best thing I've learned in school, my dear father, is that Tatsada manye sorivarya dehina asatyam, asatyam sadasamudin nidisama satgrahat. Sadasamudvigna. That the best thing I've learned in school, my dear father, is that you're a number one fool. And why? Tatsada manye sorivari denam satkriham sadasumudvigna. You're full of anxiety. We're trying to get out of anxiety. And you're just getting more and more in anxiety. Otherwise, Hiranyakashipu was supposedly ruling the whole universe, but he was always getting drunk. There must have been some problem in his house. He was always intoxicated with liquor because he didn't like the reality he was under. And he worked so hard, 125 years of the demigods, putting his hands up like this and standing on the tip of his toes, not eating, not sleeping, not breathing, not eating, not doing anything, just watching and experiencing as the ants and the moths and the insects ate his body away. And finally they're eating his brain. Because he had any brain, he wouldn't stand there like that. So even his brain got eaten away. He did work so hard, he got the whole universe under his control supposedly, and he was getting intoxicated because he was very unhappy. The only pleasure he was getting from his little son. And his son said, you're a demon, father, a big demon. And you're full of anxiety because your intelligence has become bewildered by illusion. Tatsada manye sorivari denam sadasamudvigna asatgriham grahat. So you should give it all up. Hidvangrihan Ananda Kupam Vanoganam Darigri Vanam Gato Yad Varidari Griheta. So you should go to Vrindavan. You should go to Vrindavan and take shelter of Krishna, your enemy. You should actually give this all up because it's illusion. It's not real. And like myself, take shelter of Krishna. Then you'll become happy. So Prahlada Maharaj wanted his father to be happy. He wanted his father to be successful in life. And he's seeing his father's going exactly the opposite. So he's willing to give up because he saw it was all illusion. So when we come to the Hare Krishna movement, we hear these Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Canto 8, and Bali Maharaj is giving up the universe. Prahlada Maharaj is giving up the whole kingdom, not quite as big as the universe, but Bharat Maharaj is giving up probably Bhumandala, or a good portion of it, as one gives up stool after passing it. So why are they using such language in the Bhagavatam? Why are they so impolite? Because that was his mentality. I mean, how many people stick around after they pass stool? We leave it to the pigs to take care of. So similarly, that's the mentality. If one can actually get the higher taste, it doesn't happen just by accident or just by theory. We can have so many theories about reality, but unless we actually experience Krishna consciousness, we're never actually going to be able to give up this material world, because it's the only world that we know of. How many people climb up to the top of the building, take shelter at the top of the building, and then decide to step out of the building? See what happens when you step out. You'd have to be completely crazy. And there are a lot of crazy people nowadays. Or no, when you have a shelter, you don't want to leave it. Everyone needs shelter. Everyone wants a shelter, and we don't want to leave it. And if you don't have a superior shelter, you have to take shelter of something inferior. So while we're trying to, how do we give up our desire? Because we don't have so much to give up. We just may have a lot of things to give up. I think someone was telling me that, because I have 2 bags and I carry around the world. So someone said, well, it's a lot, but if I had to move from my apartment, I'd have to have 2 trucks. So you're a little bit more renounced than I am. So we're attached to a pencil. We're going to have to come back and erase and sharpen it or something. But we're not going to try and give up our, if we only had a pencil to be attached to, it wouldn't be so bad. A little chanting Hare Krishna should probably give up our attachment to the pencil. Bharat Maharaj, he was in bhava though. He was also almost on the platform of bhava, of pure ecstasy, of love for Krishna. He had awakened his love for Krishna. And yet, that love was transferred to a deer calf. Just to remind us that we can't really be so much complaining. I made so much advancement, Krishna, give me a vacation. I don't want any more advancement for a while. No, we have some place to go, some time to go, and we should be encouraged that every day we get up, it's an opportunity to make a little advancement. Now, someone may have this much to go back to Godhead, and someone may have this much to go back to Godhead. But if you want to go from here to downtown, you have to take one step at a time. And then eventually you'll get there. Everyone will get to the same place. It's not if we get to the spiritual world, there's a sign, sorry you got here too late, no vacancy, come back next life of Brahma. Put yourself on the list with the other guys. No, it's open to everyone, immediately, if we want it. But who can want it? Because we don't know what it is. How can you want something you have no experience of? And even we have some experience, that until we actually get a taste higher than any material experience, then we're going to have to do a little practicing. Gop Kumara, he went from this earthly planet, and then he went to the kingdom of Jagannath Puri, and there he became the emperor in Jagannath Puri. And he was chanting his rounds, his Gopal mantra. And it was effective. He was really quite happy. Look at this mantra. I was just on the back, I was a cowherd boy, and now I'm the emperor in Jagannath Puri. But then he heard there's something better, and his mind became attracted. Everyone's going to become attractive. You hear something's better, and you have some experience that I've been chanting and things got better, so let me try this. So he chanted and he went to Indra Loka, and eventually he became Indra. And things were going okay until the demons came and he had to flee. And he realized there's some problems here as being Indra too. Indra had to flee actually, that's why he became Indra. And then the residents came from Mahaloka, performing sacrifice, and they were superiors. He went there, he chanted his mantra, and eventually he got there. I don't know how long it took him, but he got to Mahaloka. And in Mahaloka, then the Kumaras came down. And he thought, well, these people are refulgent. They're even better than anyone here. So then he chanted his mantra, went to Siddhaloka. And then Brahma came down, and everyone was paying respect to him. So then he decided, I'll go to Brahmaloka. Over many lifetimes, it says. But anyhow, he made it up to Brahmaloka. And it was a better place. People lived there 311 trillion, 40 billion years, although time goes quick there. And he became Brahma. Then he heard from the Vedas personified and others, there's a place called Siddhaloka. You can go and merge and become the supreme there. It's even nicer. You don't have to worry about this short duration of life of only 311 trillion, 40 billion years. You can stay there for lifetimes of Brahma. You won't even notice the lifetimes of Brahma going. You'll be so satisfied, so peaceful. So he went to Siddhaloka. He didn't want to merge because he didn't have that much faith in merging. He saw Vishnu there, even in Siddhaloka, in the Brahman. But even before he got to Siddhaloka, he had to go through the coverings, one after another. And each covering was even better than Brahmaloka, and they were worshiping the deities in each covering. And finally he got to the last covering. So guess who he met there? Who's the presiding deity in the last covering? Does anyone know? What's that? Maya. Maya. Maya came as sex personified and offered herself. Stay here and enjoy it with me. So he said, anyhow, he said, no thanks. I don't know how long it took him to reach that decision, but we shouldn't be so much, oh, Maya, big deal, Maya, you know. Maya is keeping unlimited living entities, conditioned, even bewildering persons such as Brahma, or sometimes apparently Shiva. So it's not that now I've given up all my attachment, I'm so pure, everyone should worship me. Taranga Rangini. No, we have a few lessons to learn before we go back to the spiritual world. And if someone gives us a lesson or two, we shouldn't complain too hard, too much. Of course, we don't want injustice. But we should see things as they're coming from Krishna and act accordingly. Then we can gradually become detached, as Bali Maharaj and Prahlada Maharaj and other great devotees become detached and are teaching us. Pandavas, they were exiled into the forest. Unfairly, they were cheated. They couldn't appeal to the Better Business Bureau. They couldn't appeal to the people who were supposed to give justice when Draupadi was being disrobed. The people of the big Kshatriyas who were supposed to protect justice, they didn't say a word. Krishna didn't say a word. That's why Bhishma was a surprise. Here's the Pandavas. They're the greatest pious people. Yudhisthira Maharaj is the son of Dharmaraj. And yet they've been cheated of the kingdom. They were exiled. Their wife was being disrobed in the presence of great Kshatriyas. How can this injustice been happen? Unless it was part of Krishna's plan. Therefore, when Bhumi was being beaten and Dharma was being beaten by a Shudra in the form of a king, they didn't protest because they realized ultimately it's part of Krishna's plan. He's arranging this for us so we can become more detached and more taking shelter of Krishna. Otherwise, if everything went perfectly well, that you were surrounded only by loving devotees, only people who were giving you the nicest prasadam every day, the weather was perfect. It was exactly the way you liked it. You woke up in the day and you dialed your weather, the weather you wanted for today. The spiritual world, actually, if this was the spiritual world, we would want to leave it. But it's not. And therefore, it's an impetus to take shelter of Krishna and go back to the real world. And Krishna is arranging that for each one of us. It's not that Krishna is in someone's heart and he's kind of like asleep. Couldn't care less what happens to this guy. He doesn't like me and I don't like him. He's ignored me and I'm going to ignore him. No, Krishna has been very attentive to every living entity since time immemorial. And he's trying to get everyone back to Godhead. It's just a question of our willingness to do it, to go back, and to take the situations, whatever they are, and take them in such a way as that to help us become Krishna conscious, to take shelter of Krishna. So I'll stop there. Thank you. Any questions? Comments? Challenges? Yes. Oh, do we have a microphone? pass the baton. There we go.
Maharaj, you said that desire is a covering, a material covering. And we understand that there's, ego, intelligence, mind. Where does desire reside?
Well, desire is coming, that's thinking, feeling, and willing. They're all manifestations of desire.
Thank you.
The real desire is the soul. He can have real desire if he hears how to think, feel, and will in terms of Krishna consciousness. And if he thinks, feels, and wills in terms of something other than Krishna consciousness, then he's under some degree, probably one mode of nature or the other, coming from that.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Anything else? Thank you very much. Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande.